Welcome to another episode of Jezzlandia. This is your host, Jezz Chung, and today I'm going to be talking about romancing yourself, which is something that I think I've been doing my whole life. I was a really lonely kid growing up in Georgia, and I feel like I just had to learn to hang out by myself a lot, and I didn't get along with anyone in my family either, so I just spent a lot of time with my own thoughts and my own, inner world. And because of this, I think as a survival mechanism / just whatever the reason, I started orienting myself toward my curiosity, my passion, my wonder, awe, and imagination. So I think because romancing yourself is something a lot of people talk about, I just want to break down what that means for me. Romancing yourself is a practice of looking for wonder, awe, and imagination in my daily life. No matter where I am, no matter what's going on, what the conditions are, what stressors I have, when I feel like I'm off and I'm not connected to myself and I just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm losing who I am and I'm stuck, I'm lost, I just think back to, okay, what makes me feel alive? What are the things that are proven to help me remember my sense of and my source of inspiration? So that's what I do pretty much every single week. These are also things I do because I live by myself, so I'm just always confronted with myself and building intimacy with myself. I guess that's what romancing yourself is too, building intimacy with yourself. And since we change so much all the time, I feel like I'm just always re-meeting myself. What did you learn today, Jezz? What did you do this week, Jezz? What are some things that you need to process? This brings me to the idea of Neuroqueer community and why building this consciously cultivating community with neurodivergent and queer people.
Okay, what are we doing, Kit?
Skewers! And I talk a lot about this in my podcast, Dreaming Different, and in my book, This Way to Change. If you want a really good primer about the term neuroqueer, look up the Dreaming Different episode with Kevin Gotkin, and then I have another episode about building access into friendships. But I write a lot and talk about the idea that we have to practice interdependence in order to survive. It's not just self-care, it's not just community care, it's both. And so it's about finding a cycle. And when you find more of yourself, you spend more time with yourself, you romance yourself, you get to articulate more of yourself and show up more honestly and more aligned with your true self. That helps you find more of your people. And then when you find more of your people, you have conversations and help come to revelations and process things together. And then they help you find more of yourself. And then finding more of yourself helps you find more of your people, and the cycle thus continues.
My God!
And of course, we're also always changing, and all of this is happening all over again, and that's what it means to be in relationship with people, is what I've come to learn. And I found that queer people and neurodivergent people, in my experience, seem to have such an intimate relationship with change that they get it on a different level. So we're able to really go deep and talk about our inner worlds and inner dialogue and just share insights. So that's what I love about building intimacy with yourself and with friends. That's why I try to schedule at least one friend date a week. And I feel like I'm dating myself all week long. And now I will tell you about a neurodivergent life hack. I need to tell y'all about a neurodivergent life hack, a revelation that I am having around working with my neurodivergence, working with my ADHD instead of against it. Some things in the self-help psychology space, as someone who loves reading self-development books, neuroscience books, I love like the science of happiness, things like that. Some of the things that I read about and listen to just don't work for me and my brain. One of those things being motivation will follow action, or just do it and the will follow. That is not like that for me. For me, if I don't want to do something, I don't want to do it. When I don't want to do something and I feel forced to do it, it really messes with my sense of agency. And that might be trauma, being disabled my whole life and neurodivergent, but also I think it's a fundamental human right to feel like you have agency and choice over your life. I have to know why. Tell me why that is needed. Why do I need to do that? Why is this important? If I don't understand that reason behind it, so that's why I left my job in 2020. That's why, after building a career in advertising, that's why I decided to become a full-time artist. That's why I decided to redesign my life. For me, it's more about finding things that I can be obsessed with, allowing myself to become fully immersed in it, in that obsession, and roll with it. Let myself cycle through it. When I was younger, I think I felt a lot of shame around cycling through so many different interests so quickly, having so many hobbies and not being able to stick to something and having a short attention span. But now, especially understanding, oh, I'm an artist, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, there really are no limits. The limits are made up. There's no box that I need to fit myself into. The rigidity that I feel is prescribed to a lot of us is not actually intuitive and not actually what we need in the world right now. I mean, if we want to zoom out and think about why it's important for us to stay connected to our creative spirit, to our source of the erotic, as Audre Lorde has written about, the whole Julia Cameron artist way, romancing yourself, taking yourself out on dates. The act of loving yourself and being in relationship with yourself is a creative process too. When I feel that shame of, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, I don't know what's wrong with me, I think there's nothing wrong with you. I think it's perfectly understandable to not be in the mood to do things when the world is on fire, literally. Over the past week, I have been obsessed with crocheting. I've fallen asleep thinking about crocheting. I wake up and the first thing I want to do is crochet. I basically made this whole blanket in a span of a few days. I crocheted for like 10 hours on Sunday. I did nothing but crochet. Any free time I get, I want to crochet. I love crocheting. When I woke up, I knew that, okay, I have to get ready to teach this painting class, this 7th grade painting class. And I have notes from my last demo class that I want to incorporate, and I have to go through it. And then I also have to make my painting and go through the steps so I know what I'm teaching. And this is the painting that I chose, and this is the painting that I did. Now, this is my first watercolor painting, I don't know, maybe ever, in a long time. I'm learning. So knowing that it's kind of a new skill, I'm watching a bunch of YouTube tutorials, giving myself a crash course. This kind of felt daunting and I was dreading it. So what I did was, as soon as I woke up, I crocheted while listening to positive affirmations. If you listen to positive affirmations as soon as you wake up, your brain is more likely to absorb them, because something about alpha levels and your brain being in a more susceptible state right before you fall asleep and right when you wake up, and your subconscious is easier to access. That's why your dreams feel easier to remember right when you wake up. And then as soon as you move, you kind of start losing that memory. And then I finished this earlier than I thought. And then now I have time to slowly look over my notes and think about how I'm gonna approach the class. I'm such a writer. I think I want to choose a word each week, if I do end up being able to teach this class every week, that we can meditate on while we're painting. And this week, I think I want to do appreciation. I think I want to talk about appreciation. Nothing wrong with getting very passionate about things and wanting to be immersed in them. There's nothing wrong about having a hard time feeling motivated unless you can find your own way. So just know that whatever works for other people or for neuronormative people might not work for you. and that is okay. We can still feed our interests while also getting the things we need to get done. And that is how I'm approaching the day. Anytime I get stuck, I'm just gonna crochet until I feel good, and then use that feel good feeling to apply as momentum to whatever the next task is.
Sometimes you make something and you realize that you actually don't like a part of it. And so you can always undo it and appreciate all the time it took to get there. Appreciate that you had to get here to see that you want something to change. And this doesn't negate any of the work you've done on yourself or your craft. It just means that you can always change no matter how far you go, no matter how far along you get, you can always change direction. Just wanted to remind you that. I am almost done with this blanket.